Right, so just over 2 years ago, I made a video where I did a C++ university assignment. I have the video linked up here. It was quite an interesting assignment, but you guys seem to really dig that video. And so I thought the time had come for me to do it again. So I thought to myself, the year is now 2023. How do people do assignments these days? If I was in university these days, how would I do an assignment? And then I thought, well, earlier this year, I made a video where I used AI, the talk of the town, to help me with C++. And that was pretty cool. Again, video linked up there. It had given me some really great suggestions, and it was even able to adapt to different kind of code styles or whatever really that I asked of it. And that was just like GPT-3. Like, people in the comments were being like, no, this isn't the most advanced AI model you can use. This is child's play. And so here we are today. Today, we are going to do a C++ university assignment with the help of AI. And I'm gonna use my experience as a C++ programmer to see how good of a job it does. And this time going into it, I am fairly confident that it's probably going to do a very good job. Where do I get a C++ university assignment from? I thought about this for a while. In fact, I even asked you guys to send some in, but then they were all pretty trash. But then I realized we're in the world of AI. Why don't we just get AI to write us a C++ assignment? And so that's exactly what I did. Now, what it generated was probably the most uninspired, boring assignment I've ever seen, honestly. So I asked it to, I don't know, just change it up a little bit. And so here we have C++ university assignment, Cat Cafe management system. Now, this is basically the same assignment as it generated the first time round. I mean, the objectives are completely the same. They're identical. It's just kind of reskinned, right? It's just dressed up a little bit different. Instead of like a banking system, it's cats, which is like cool. I approve of that. In fact, I've been to a cat cafe once, I remember, in Japan on my honeymoon. So relatable. So our assignment here is to design a system to manage a cat cafe where visitors come to enjoy a cup of coffee and spend time with resident cats. The system should help the cafe manage their cats, monitor the available cat treats, and log visits by customers. Amazing. I mean, I'm hooked. I'm invested in this. Let's build a cat cafe management system, and then maybe later we can find some cat cafes to sell it to. So let's kind of read through this assignment, and then we're gonna just begin working on it. And I haven't quite figured out exactly how I want to play this, because I'm thinking, I mean, I haven't read this yet, but I'm thinking I could obviously just be like, hey, give me the solution to this assignment, like just write it for me, give me an example of an implementation of this. But I don't know if that's necessarily fair, because, I mean, in this case, obviously, it was GPT-4 that actually gave us this assignment in the first place. If we got one from university, then I mean, I suppose we could enter all of it into GPT-4 so that it has like the full context. I don't know. I think it just might be better for us to pretend that we're a student, start working on this thing, and then we'll just ask for help as we need it. And in fact, I might even open up a new kind of chat session to ask for help, just so that hopefully it doesn't have this context, because otherwise that's going to make prompting it a lot easier. I want it to kind of be not aware of the full requirements so that it forces us to phrase our questions probably in a better way. And again, like, this is GPT-4, so I expect that it's like quite advanced. It's going to be able to kind of help us out. Now, speaking of advanced AI systems that can help you out, let's talk about Grammarly, the sponsor of this video. Grammarly helps professionals improve their writing all the way from start to finish so they can quickly deliver high quality work with confidence. So, I'm a man of many jobs. There's a lot of things that I'm doing. You guys know that. I'm a YouTuber making videos such as this one. I'm also running a team making a game engine, which that in and of itself involves so many different disciplines, I would call it. I'm not just a technical director, software engineer writing the actual engine and all the programming that goes along with that. I'm also running the team, which means that I'm regularly talking to the team, whether that be just on Discord or by email. I'm setting up meetings and creating presentations. I'm writing technical documentation and just documentation in general for the engine. I'm exchanging business emails with our partners. I mean, the list just goes on, and all of those tasks involve writing. Now see, this is where Grammarly comes in. Grammarly is an AI-powered writing tool. It helps with all of the things I've just described. Like, for example, if I'm going through Hazel's documentation and I realize that actually I need some more ideas for example games that I can create, I can just ask Grammarly, hey, can you please generate some ideas for me. And in fact, while I'm at it and I'm reviewing this kind of section, I don't know if I like the way that this is written. Maybe this needs to be rephrased somehow. I don't know, maybe let's try making it sound a bit more academic and serious. Although I don't want to sound too serious. Maybe let's just make it sound a little bit nicer, friendlier, a bit more fun. There we go, I kind of like that a lot more. Emails. I honestly struggle a little bit sometimes with emails because I don't want to kind of say the wrong thing, sound unprofessional, or just, you know, come off a certain way. If what I'm talking about involves like a serious business partnership that maybe hasn't quite been established yet, or if I'm just replying to Peter and I can't be bothered, I can just get Grammarly to quickly suggest a reply for me based on the context of the actual email, which is amazing. Now, Grammarly is actually free to use and try out. You can sign up and download it for free by just going to grammarly.com/cherno. Link will be in the description below. If you go on to like it and you want to get access to extra features, then my link will get you 20% off premium. Huge thank you to Grammarly for sponsoring this video. So step one over here is obviously going to be to read the assignment, and I'm kind of going to critique it. I'm going to just like see, I guess, I'm just going to give my thoughts on what exactly has been generated here. So we know what the problem description is. Let's look at the requirements. Class cat, private data members, blah, blah, blah. And our objective is to familiarize students with the concept of classes, objects, member functions, inheritance, and basic input-output in C++. Okay, and then we've got a class called cat with private data members, public member functions. So this is obviously like a very object-oriented kind of C++ thing. And in fact, the first assignment it gave us was exactly the same. Like it was also, here we have a class called account instead of cat. And again, the concepts of classes, objects, member functions, all that kind of stuff. Now, this doesn't actually have inheritance, I'm just noticing now. This apparently has included inheritance. And then it's telling us, like, in detail how to actually structure these classes. It's not just saying, yeah, just make this system that fulfills, like, here's a list of requirements it has to fulfill. It's actually full on giving us, like, the architecture of this program. So I want to mention a couple things here, because I know there's going to be some haters out there who are already going to be dissing this because it's object-oriented. This is a first year C++ university assignment. I specifically wrote first year, so we're going to kind of use that as the context here. If I think back to my first year, I just feel like C++ these days especially is introduced as an object-oriented programming language. Like, it's not immediately introduced as like a, well, you know, it supports multiple programming paradigms. It could do object-oriented programming, or you could do something else. Like, you know, is object-oriented the best choice for like a lot of cases? Well, it might be for some things, but like ultimately maybe you want to consider, no, this is a first-year student. You have to picture this person doing this assignment as someone who has potentially never written code in their lives up until now. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be a first assignment of ever, but a first year assignment. So this person is clearly very new to programming, potentially never written code before they took this university course, which means what? Which means they don't even know what object-oriented programming is. So obviously it doesn't make sense to kind of get in here and be like, whoa, oh, this is so object-oriented, man. Like, what are you doing? Getters and setters, and there's like inheritance and objects and classes. Like, why? Well, because the person needs to know what object-oriented programming is before they can then go on to hate it, potentially. So clearly that just needs to be said, I think. Now, as to the fact that this entire architecture is kind of given to us, well, yeah, because this assignment is kind of here to teach a first-year student how they would even go about doing something like this. So I think the fact that this is quite explicit, and it's giving you like exactly what you need to do. You know, there has to be a function called consume trait with this parameter which reduces the quantity. I think that's fair. I think that's a good thing, and I think that that's probably pretty indicative, if my memory serves me well, of what it was like when I did my first year. Actually, my first year of programming was exactly 10 years ago. 2013 was my first year in university. And I had kind of taught myself programming started a couple of years before that, when I was still in high school. But I do remember that C++ to us was introduced as like an object-oriented programming language, just like C# and Java, which was also taught. And because the first semester was actually C and Pascal, but mostly C, when we went into C++ the next semester, it was kind of introduced to us as C, but with classes and objects. So we got a constructor to initialize data members, function display cat details to display the cat's name, okay? Setter and getter functions for each data member, sure. And see, this is what I mean, like, does the student even know what a setter and a getter is? They were probably taught that in a lecture before they were given this assignment, and now they have to practice implementing a setter and getter possibly for the first time ever. So because of that, so far, so good. Class trait, private data members, we've got 2 here, constructors to initialize data members, consume trait, display trait details to display trait name and quantity, and again, setter and getters. customer visit, because we have to also log when customers visit. We got their name, storing some personal details here. Every time you walk into a cafe, they write down your name and which cat you interacted with. String. Okay, so assume interaction with only one cat per visit. I'm almost picturing a database here with like, you know, like primary keys and like foreign keys and how they relate, and like a relational model for a database here, but it's just as simple as we just got a string of what the cat's name, I guess, is, because cats do in fact have names. And then we got a date of visit in the format day, month, year. Okay, cool. Some public functions, and then we go down to the main program flow. So see, this isn't really given in so much detail. It lays out the kind of data model, I guess, and the structure of all of these classes, but we don't know exactly how to add a new cat, for example. That's just something we have to do. We have to present the user with a menu to choose an action, and then we can choose to either add a new cat, display all cats, add treats, consume treats. Okay, consume treats. So I guess we can get a cat to eat a treat by logging it in like this. Log a customer visit, display all visits and exit. So for each action, prompt the user for the required details. For instance, when adding a new cat, ask for cat's name. Okay, right. So we say we want to add a new cat, and then it asks us one by one each kind of data thing, just like making a new user, like in the Linux command line, I guess. Keep the program running until the user chooses to exit. Okay, so we got kind of like a standard while loop console running application with prompts. We have to read in the kind of console input. For simplicity, you don't need to implement persistent storage. Okay, right. So once the program is closed, all data will be lost. So I guess it said, all right, basic input output in C++. So not like file input output. That's kind of what I was picturing, but just, I guess, console input and output. So that's good. It kind of reduces the workload here. We don't need to serialize this like to a text file. So we definitely won't do that. Assume that cat names are unique. Yes, which makes sense because we need to store this. And also one cat per visit. Cool. You can only touch one cat every time you go to the cafe. Treat quantities should never go negative. Fair enough. We could probably just use an unsigned integer for that. Although, do we have to stick to the treat quantity being an int? Because it didn't say unsigned int. So maybe we do. So, okay, maybe we will. And we'll just kind of have a little check to make sure that if we don't have any treats to give, we don't subtract a trait. Extra challenge. I don't know if we'll do the extra challenge. So implement a derived class special. Oh, right. Yeah. Because I was just about to say there's no inheritance here. Doesn't look like there is, but I guess in the extra challenge there is. Additional data like special skill can open doors, fetches like a dog. Cool. Implement function display all visits where a specific cat was interacted with, and implement a trait recommendation function. System should suggest the cat's favorite trait and check its availability. Did the cat have... Cats do have a favorite trait. Okay, cool. Right. So that's where that would come into play, I guess. Submission guidelines. Submit a single CPP file containing the implemented Cat Cafe management system. Include appropriate comments to explain your code and ensure the code is free of errors and compile successfully, of course. And then the evaluation criteria will be correctness of code, proper use of classes, blah, 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 code readability and organization, and handling edge cases and providing appropriate user feedback. Perfect coding to you with a cat emoji and a coffee. Beautiful. It doesn't say anything about like you have to use this compiler, because last time we had to use GCC. So I'm just going to use Visual Studio and MSVC for this assignment. We do need a single CPP file. Yeah, I mean, overall, like this is actually pretty cool. I think that if you like wanted to practice something maybe that you're not good at in C++, like maybe you're not very comfortable with file IO and you just wanted to kind of generate an assignment that you could then do. Like, of course, you could just find example ones online, or you could use something like LeetCode to practice things. But I really think the benefit here is just being able to craft a specific thing that you want, rather than trying to have to go looking for it and then potentially wasting time and not finding it, or finding something that doesn't quite match your requirements. So this is kind of cool. Like I could really see this being useful as something that just creates exercises and assignments for people to practice certain things. So I'm pretty happy with this. Now, as for how I want to do this and how I want to use AI to help me here, I could just ask it, and I'm going to do a new chat session as I mentioned, but I could just ask it to, you know, write me a class that's like, this is the cat class and here's, you know, with these requirements. But the thing is, like, I feel like this is so basic. The only real thing you could get wrong here is probably the syntax. If you're not used to C++ and you haven't quite familiarized yourself and practiced the syntax, like I could see someone being like, oh, how do I write a class like in C++? Like, you know, is that it? Or there's a compile error, you know, because I forgot the semicolon or something like that. And like, how do I do, is it like Java or whatever? Or do I have to, you know, do that? Like syntactically, there's a lot you could get wrong if you're a beginner. And I guess you could ask the AI here to help you out with that and write this for you. But I think I'm gonna try and pretend that I'm a student who has paid attention in class and in the lectures, and I know like the basic syntax, or at least I can look at lecture slides to see like what a class would look like syntactically. And so really what I'm gonna need help with from the AI is things like, you know, present the user with a menu to choose an action. Like, how do I do that? How do I read in stuff from the console that the user types? You know, maybe I could ask the AI that and it would be like, oh, well, just use the get line function or use cin or something like that. I think that's how I'm going to play this, just because getting it to do every single line of code for me is probably not that realistic to how people would actually use this. I would really hope. So let's just let's just set up a Visual Studio project and we'll get started. Okay, so here we are in Visual Studio. Let me close this. I guess I could pretend that I don't know anything. So write me a C++ main function. And then we can just like copy it. So this prints hello world, but sure. Let's just grab this and we'll put it in. So we're already kind of generating code. Now I'm going to remove some stuff here. I guess I could be kind of forward and just kind of ask it straight away to make this whole present the user with a menu to choose an action thing, right? Because I think that's where I want to start from. I want to kind of design the main program flow, and then we'll implement all of these things. It doesn't really matter, I guess, what order you do it in, but that's just what I'm choosing. So write me a main menu system in C++, which asks for a numeric index from console input, I'll just write, and then directs me to an appropriate function. This needs to loop endlessly until the user selects the quit option. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see what happens here. Certainly, I love how enthusiastic it always is. Certainly, here's a simple C++ main function. Certainly, below is a basic implementation of main menu system. Wow, okay, right. I mean, this seems great. Okay, this is, yeah. So it's interesting. Handle invalid input, user enters a letter. So cin choice, and then choice is an int. See, that's okay. So that's really smart that it's decided to do that, because I've specifically elected to take in an integer. So what if instead of numbers, I wanted letters to be my menu options, right? So I'm just wondering, like, if you'd like to use letters, you can easily modify the code, and let's see what it decides to use here. Could just use like a char. Yeah, it's gonna use a char, okay. And it's going to do 2 upper even, right? To make sure that we don't have any kind of case mismatch. And then it's actually going to even, yeah, I mean, there's comments here. Convert to uppercase to handle both upper and lowercase input. And then there's also even a summary of the changes made. Like, again, this is great. This is very, very useful stuff. Where was this when I was learning programming? But to be honest, like, I don't even know if I would use this. Like, I feel like it's not really cheating, but I feel like there's a special, not just satisfaction, but you learn a special set of skills when you have to go out and find this relevant information yourself instead of just trying to copy and paste stuff. But of course, like, from a technology point of view, this stuff is amazing. And I could definitely see myself using this, you know, when I'm working on my game engine Hazel, and maybe I have a specific question about, like, I don't know, Vulkan subpasses, which is like a rendering API, and I'm trying to do some like advanced rendering stuff. Like, I could, and in fact I have in the past, asked it, can you explain these things to me? Or like really kind of specific questions about like, but how do I compare this depth format information with this or whatever? What space are these in, like after certain projections or matrix transformations? Like for that kind of stuff, like it's really, really useful, and I definitely don't feel bad for using it. But you know, if you're learning programming, like it really does beg the question, should you be using this stuff, or should you kind of be pretending it doesn't exist? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below, because I definitely can see the controversial side to this, because in a way, like it definitely could be seen as cheating. Now, the reason why I asked the letter thing was I specifically wanted to, what if I want to read in a string rather than a single char to make my choice? Because I really wanted it to show me how to read a string. Okay, so it's still going to use cin with choice, but see, my problem here is that if I hit space, so see, you have to be kind of, what if I want to support spaces in my input? You have to kind of, you know, play with it a bit. And then there it is. So this is what I was looking for. I was looking for it to use the get line function instead of, you know, just cin. Because what cin is going to do is like, sure, you could get it to accept an int or a string or a char or whatever. And it's cool that it's even using transform here to kind of convert the input to lowercase so that it can do the string comparisons kind of, you know, with whatever case you want is case insensitive. But still, if you have spaces there, because it's just cin one item, you know, space is like the delimiter that you would have. And that's going to kind of break if you wanted to get the whole line. So this is it getting the whole line. And then it's going to obviously be, you know, with space support here, it's going to read in that entire line. So if you are looking for something specific, I guess you do have to be specific. But we really, I think, just want the numeric options, don't we? And the reason why I had to do this, by the way, specifically apart from my own curiosity, was because, you know, we are going to have to take in other things like names and breeds and favorite traits, which those strings might have spaces. So we definitely potentially want to be aware of a system where we could read in an entire line if we wanted to. But for the menu itself, I think we can probably just use a numeric. This doesn't actually say that your menu, it just says present the user with a menu to choose an action. For each action, prompt the user require details. Yeah, it doesn't actually say what we do. So I think I still am going to just make it numeric here, which means that we can basically come over here to this first kind of int option over here, right? And I'm just going to copy this code completely just with this button, and we're going to replace our whole program with that code. I'm going to compile this project just to make sure this all compiles, which I expect it will, of course. It's a bit annoying how it's doing this kind of coding convention, but that's the least of our concerns. Let me maybe clean this up a little bit, and there's our kind of main menu with options. So we could just adjust this. It even starts with a new line, which is interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Welcome to Cat Cafe. Please choose an option. And then we can just have, yeah, option 1, 2. So this is display menu. We'll just keep using whatever convention they use. I would write this like that. It's my personal choice, but we'll keep this convention. But I think I will drop this to a new line. I'm sure we could probably tell it that, hey, by the way, going forward, I'd like opening curly brackets to be on new lines. And then this can just, yeah, I mean, it's even rewritten it. And then, yeah, here it's going to have it on a new line. So that's cool. We can just probably, you know, tell it what our desired convention is, and that's fine. So if we go back here now, let's select, you know, all of this stuff. So we know we need these things. So let's just copy this. I might just, yeah, paste it in, just add these as comments kind of for the time being. In fact, we could even like copy this, I imagine, and let's move it down here. I'll just surround this with quotes. I forgot how to select them all at the end. And then we could just see out all of them at once like this. And then I guess I should have technically added new lines here. So let's also do that. And semicolons. Yeah, I forgot the way you can just select, like if I do this and then, yeah, there we go. So then I could just have added them all in one go. Cool. So now I'll add like a number here that we can use to just pick the option we want. And yeah, we could just have kind of enter your choice as the AI wrote for us. And that's the display menu function, basically done. So let's go down here now, where in the main function, we just get our choice. It's going to display the menu. We're going to handle invalid input over here, which is cool. I haven't honestly seen it handled like this before. Not that I spend most of my time doing console input menus, but I'm learning stuff. And then, yeah, invalid input, please enter a number. So we'll test that out definitely for sure. And then we have the choice that selects all of them. Now, obviously, I could come in here and be like, well, I don't really want this to just be numbers because then I have to switch. I have to kind of switch by number here. That doesn't say much to me. Maybe I would prefer this to be like an enum so that I could actually give a name, you know, to all of these menu options. But I'm not going to complicate things here. I'm just going to stick with like what it's giving me. So case 1 then is in fact going to be add a new cat. Now I'm not going to make comments I think for this because we'll just do add new cat like this, and that will be like one of the kind of function prototypes for an option here. Now let's kind of come up here. We'll make add new cat. I might just delete these because I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. And then here were the implementations. I don't think I'm going to bother. I'll just define everything up here so that I don't need those prototypes, but it was nice that it added it for us. And then all this said was you selected option 1 or whatever. So I'm not really losing too much code here. So add new cat, and then what do we have? Let me just split this view like this so I can just compare two things at once. And then if we scroll down, so we had add new cat, then we had display all cats. So at this point, I'm just going to do this, I guess, myself. So we have, this was the exit kind of one. So what does that do? Returns 0. So that just full on exits the program immediately. Sure. We'll stick with that. Why not? And then, yeah, we can we can do goodbye as well. Default, we'll just do invalid choice as well, which is fine. So display all cats, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll just update these quickly. So you can see I am doing some programming myself. Like I'm deliberately trying to be realistic here and not just get it to do everything for me, because I just don't imagine anyone would, at least anyone actually trying to learn programming with this and just using AI to help, which is kind of the point. You know, I'm using AI to help me, not do the assignment fully for me. Maybe that could be another video, actually, if I try and actually not write any code myself, but we're not gonna do that today. So log customer visit and display all visits. Now I have to make all these functions. Let me see if I can do that a bit easier by maybe doing something like this. So void, and then if I just do this, so what was it? I did that, and then I went back, and then I can just do that. Okay, sweet, almost perfect. So here are all my functions. They're all called from here. I mean, we can run this already and we can just make sure that, you know, the exit thing works. So, I mean, if I just do 2, it's just gonna, yep, it's gonna loop again, which is great. I can keep pressing this. If I do 8, it will tell me that it's an invalid choice. If I type in Cherno, it's gonna tell me that's an invalid input. Please enter a number. If I do like 6, what if I do 6 and 4? So that will, yeah, see that kind of, you can see that kind of did it twice. So maybe that's a bit of a bug. It doesn't really tell us we have to handle, you know, input like that though. Maybe we could just say that, well, it wasn't in the assignment requirements, but I guess we could get it to make sure that it only accepts one number rather than, you know, takes in multiple things here. But if we do 7, then you can see it does in fact stop the program and it closes. So that's pretty good. Like we got something working really quickly, I think, if I wasn't explaining this. And we did actually implement like all 7 options as well, which took a bit of time just to format that code. So now I think we can just begin with implementing like this cat class as an example. So we know we need these okay, I'm just going to copy this, I guess, just so that I can see it over here. We're going to come up here to the very top. We're going to paste this in, and then we're just going to write class cat. We're going to put our public stuff first and then our private stuff at the bottom. And then we're going to have std string name. I'm going to use this convention for that. We'll have to include string, which, you know, again, I'm assuming that this person who's doing the assignment knows a little bit about, like, you have to include string to use string and what in fact is a string in C++, that kind of stuff. We've got the breed, we've got the age, which is an integer, which we will also initialize to 0. And then we got a favorite trait. Okay, and then we got a constructor. Okay, so a constructor to initialize data members. So I'm guessing this maybe wants us to actually take in these members. With this, like, I mean, I would probably pass this by either a const reference or taking a string view or something like that. I don't know if this person, I guess I'll keep it simple. Like, it's not going to really do any harm if we copy that string. So I'm going to just do it, you know, like I would if I was a beginning programmer probably. So we got name, breed, age, and favorite trait over here. And then we're just gonna assign it like that. I guess I could do mname equals name to be a bit more beginner maybe, but we'll go with this. I'm gonna say that the person doing this assignment knows a little bit. He's been around the block a few times. He knows some things, or maybe he was taught this immediately in a lecture, which would be great. So we got a function display cat details to display the cat's name, age, and favorite trait. Well, yeah, all the stuff. So cat details, I'll say, you know, and then maybe we'll do space name. I don't know, like, am I being a little bit too, like, am I doing too much of this assignment myself? Like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. I'll do end line instead of new line here. I don't know, like, again, I'm really just trying to get help with this. Like, this does not like require help, I think. This is just simple printing of values. Like, you really should know how to do this. So I'm gonna just say that, like, again, I foresee that the biggest problem that students are gonna have with this part of the assignment is probably syntax. Like, forgetting, like, oh, how do I do this weird stuff instead of just doing mname equals name? Not knowing, you know, how to maybe write a class in the first place and, like, how to make the stuff public and private. And I'm guessing, like, you could probably, I don't know, like, if I forget a semicolon here and this doesn't compile, maybe I could be like, hey, what's wrong syntactically with this code? And I'll paste that in. Is syntactically correct as a class definition? However, there are a few things you might might be aware of. Necessary headers. Okay, after your class definition, a semicolon is required. You already have it, so that's correct. No, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit weird. That it says you already have it. Huh. That's very strange. There's no main function, yeah, obviously. And then there's even a way to test this out, which is kind of cool. It's got the function call. So this is giving me some help with syntax as well. And this looks correct. So yeah, you can definitely ask it for help with syntax if you kind of run into that. So that's good to know. And to be honest, like, I don't think I would consider that cheating. I think that's okay if you use it for help with that. If you get it to write your whole program, it's a different story. And in fact, even what I'm doing here by getting it to write a menu system for me is probably a gray area. Okay, cool. So the last thing is setter and getter functions for everything. So let's go ahead and, again, I'm not going to return by const reference here. I'm just going to do string get name. Do I put const here? Would it be going to do that? Would they be taught that? Maybe. I'm going to keep it simple. Return m name. Let's duplicate that a few times. We got breed, age, which is an int, and favorite treat. All right, cool. So we've got some getters. We need some setters as well. Okay, cool. I think that's it. So that's the complete implementation of the cat class. I think that's basically all it was asking for. Now, in the interest of keeping this video not the length of a feature film, I'm going to just like fast forward through me implementing all these things, but I will do them manually. Okay, so we got consume tree, which is a bit different than, what was in the cat class. So if there are not enough trees, display an error message. So this just really has to just subtract this. But obviously we kind of have to maybe just be like, if m quantity minus amount is less than 0, like 0 is okay. If we hit 0 exactly, we have 2 traits and we subtract 2, we have, that's valid. You can give 2 traits if you have 2. But if it's less than 0, then we need to not do the following. So I'll do a return here, and then we'll just print an error message being like, not enough traits. I guess we won't give any traits though in that case. We're not going to give all of the ones we have and then just say there's not enough. We'll just say not enough traits. We could even print something helpful like how many we actually have, which of course will be quantity, not amount. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Okay, trait details. Same kind of story as cat details. Okay, and then the getters and setters. So that class is done. Okay, interesting that I just noticed that this doesn't tell us to do getters and setters for customer visits, so I guess we don't need to do that. That's nice, because that takes a while. Okay, there we go. So that is all 3 classes implemented. There is quite a lot of code, but of course it's not particularly complex code or anything. I think this should be definitely achievable by someone who's trying to do this assignment. So that's why I didn't really use much of the AI's help on that. So moving on, add a new cat. What's interesting immediately to me is this doesn't actually tell you anything about the storage. It simply says you don't need to implement persistent storage, but this doesn't tell you, like, you have to store all of this stuff in a vector or in a map or in whatever. So this is interesting already because it's definitely forcing us to come up with the idea. I imagine you would probably store, I would probably store the cats as some sort of, they need to be unique. So you could just store it as a set, honestly. So you would have an instance of the cat class and you would use the name of the cat as the key for it to be inside a set, but you are still storing the actual object. That might be a little advanced for this. It might just make more sense to just store it as a vector. And then, obviously you would then iterate through it to display all cats, add traits. So obviously traits are in a vector and consume traits as well. The traits have names. I'm assuming they need to be unique as well. So I'm beginning to find holes in this assignment in terms of what details are given and whether or not all the edge cases are kind of, handled. Log a customer visit. So again, you could do that and display all visits in a vector. So to keep this simple, I think I'm just going to use a vector for these things. So let's go back to our actual prompt over here. And let's kind of ask for help. So I have a cat class, which has, name, breed, age, and favorite treat, which has strings name, breed, and favorite trait, and an int age. I need to prompt the user through a console to enter all of these details and then add this to an std vector for storage. I also need to iterate through this vector to print all the cats that I have. Write 2 functions that achieve these 2 tasks. So let's see what happens here. I'm interested to see. So, okay, so it's actually written this, N, B, F, and A in that order as well. We can print that as well. Okay, right. So it's gonna, I guess it's gonna call this function rather than doing the printing from within. That makes sense, from within the thing. So add cat, std vector cats, taking it in by reference. Okay, so it's not using any global variable or anything. That kind of makes sense, I think, to me. Yeah, get line for all of these things from CN. Again, using get line here. So it is opening this up to have spaces, which is great. Then we've got cat, new cat, and then a pushback. Sure. So it's not using like in place back or trying to do anything fancy here with move semantics. Like it's really just making this and pushing it back, causing a copy. Totally fine again for this assignment. Don't care. Just pointing that out. So print all cats will go through again that vector, and it even adds some nice pretty things here. Cat.print is what it calls. And then I've got my cat collection. I like that it called it cat collection. And then I can do chart choice even, which lets me add a cat, which calls that. So this I didn't ask for. It's got some example usage though. Yeah. So it provides you with example usage, which I think is really cool, definitely. And then it just prints this. And while the choice is that or that, then we can keep adding cats until we're satisfied. So that's really cool. Let's go ahead and do this. So again, I'm just gonna copy this, my cat collection. I'm gonna put it in my main function just like that thing did it. I'm going to keep calling it cat collection. Now, cat is a thing, vector is not. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to pretend that I know that part. But of course, you could be like, why is std vector giving me a compile error? Like, in fact, let's just try that. Again, this is almost silly to try, giving me a compile error. It probably is just going to tell me, have you included it, right? Missing include directive, right? So include vector. Yeah, so that's done. Don't even need to worry about that. We've got my cat collection now going back up here. And this is obviously this is the other chat. So this has no context. I'm assuming that's how GPT-4 works. It doesn't have any context. So it shouldn't know about the cat class, which it clearly doesn't because it's completely different. Then I'm just going to grab this add cat function as is, right? And then just chuck that in, add cat. We've got our vector of cats. We've got all these different things. I'm just going to rearrange this slightly though, so that we do the age here. What about error checking though? This doesn't really have any error checking. If I don't add, what if the age is a string or something? So I could, use this to reprompt it while that's an issue. Could just be out of the scope for this assignment though, not sure. And then to make this, so name, so we need string int, which is, it's the other way around, obviously. So let's just assume we can fix that ourselves, that is. So there we go. So now add cat, add new cat. Let's just call it add new cat. And then we can get rid of this one. It's an overload though, because it's a different signature. It's got different parameters. But either way, we'll do add new cat, and then we'll just do cat collection. We'll just pass that in. And yeah, we should just be able to add new cats now, I'm assuming. We'll test it in a minute. Print all cats. Let's just grab well, we need this as well. I'll grab this part of it because we've already got that function, remember? So display all cats. So let's just paste it in here like that. Print. So it's called, not print, it's called display cat details. So let's go ahead and I love this is involving cats, by the way. I'm glad I decided to ask it to do that rather than banks. So we'll do cat display cat details. Okay, we have our first issue that might not be easy to solve. This is giving me an error. The reason why is because I was being a naive C++ programmer and I was not marking this as const. So this function is not marked as const, which means that if this guy over here, inside display all cats, which let's pass in cat collection. This guy is a const cat, right? Not just a regular cat. This guy's a const cat. This cat's a const cat. So that means that only the const functions can be called. Yeah, I mean, let's see what it says. So the object has type qualifiers and non-compatible. I guess you could enter this into like GPT and be like, what's up? But this is definitely an issue. This is definitely an issue. Now, if we look at this though, see, this doesn't have getters at all. And the print, oh, hang on though. Check this out. The print function here is not const. So actually this is a compile error in the code that is generated. Because look, it's a const cat. We do cat.print on that cat object, which is const, and yet print is not const. So there we go. GPT-4 just gave us code that does not compile. There you go. The world's crumbling. Right. Well, good. This is a help me, professor. I'm not as smart as I thought I was, and GPT-4 didn't bail me out. So are you sure that code example with the cats compiles? Let's see what it says to that. I apologize for the oversight. Let me quickly review the code. Here's a revised version. That's so interesting. What, did it just not think about it? Okay. So, okay, so if I get a compile error here, as a student, I might be, you know, smart enough, we'll just say, to plug in this as a because this is a standalone program with a main function. I might think to just plug this in into a standalone application and then see that like, well, it doesn't compile, right? So like as an example, here I'm in Wandbox. I'm just gonna paste this. This is just Wandbox.org. It's just a little online compiler. If I compile this, it will tell me that const cat as this argument discards qualifiers because this obviously is not const. So I might actually, this is straight from the code, and I might be like, well, you know, what's wrong with this? And so I might ask it, you know, are you sure that compiles just like I did, right? It gives me a revised version. I can paste that in, run it, see that this in fact does work, right? And then I could find the difference, but also it tells me that the print function in cat is now a const member function since it doesn't modify class member. Also, while adding a cat to the vector, I utilize in place back for direct construction. Beautiful. It's an improvement, but using pushback with a temporary cat object is fine too. Okay. I'm not going to argue with it that it's fine too. Of course, it depends on the use case, and for this case, it's definitely fine. But obviously, in place back is optimal, and it has in fact, you can see it's done that with the constructor. So I might be like, oh, that's fancy. Let's try and like replace that. And then obviously instead of constructing this object here, it's passing along the arguments and then constructing it in place inside the vector, which is technically better. So then I would come up here and be like, oh, you know, this turns out this needs to be const. I've learned something, you know? So that's kind of cool. Not cool that it made a mistake though. I honestly didn't expect it to make a mistake, like a mistake in terms of like, this is basically a syntax error. It's not only a syntax error, but it's an error it's a grammatical, we'll say error maybe, in C++'s like system. Is it just like, it's type error really. Like it's not gonna compile at all. Like that, I did not expect. But we now have the ability to display cats. Let's run this. Okay, we got an error here. What's the error? Oh, okay. So for some reason, name breed, because age needs to be here. Yep. Again, like we'll just sweep that one under the rug. Okay, so add a new cat. Enter cat's name, enter cat's breed. Ooh, why is that immediately asked me two things? That's weird. Get line should have waited. Is that something to do with this? Cat's age, 50. That's an old cat. Chocolate. That's weird. Why did it do this? Okay, so display all cats, and then we've got no name, breed is weird, 50 and chocolate. All right. All right. Isn't that strange? I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even know why that happened. Me, as a programmer, not as ChatGPT looking at this, I don't know why that happened. Is it because this didn't consume... well, see, this is doing C in choice. Ooh, this might be problematic. Because if this is doing C in choice, then it's not gonna consume new lines potentially. And so this might consume that new line, I guess, because it's waiting in the buffer to be consumed. That's what I imagine has happened. Is there a way to clear it? I don't know. So this is, again, something I guess I would ask it. So let's see. It's prompting me for both the name and breed in one go. Can I... Why? That's interesting. Behavior of Cin combined with getLine. There you go. Yep. When you enter data for the choice in the main function using Cin choice, which is what we did. So this doesn't know I've done that though, because this is different, right? To read the cat's name, it immediately reads and consumes the leftover new line character, and it appears just skipping the prompt. So that's exactly what I thought would happen, but great that it explained it. That's amazing. Like, this is great. The solution is to use Cin ignore right after reading the choice, which will consume the leftover new line character. However, in the provided code, I already have ignore after reading the choice, so it should be working fine in that regard. Yes. Oh, that's the example. Oh, so that's lucky because it used Cin for the example. I see why, because I was like, how do you know that I'm combining Cin with getLine? But it's because, you know, getLine is used here and Cin's used in their example as well as there, but then you can see it ignores it. So the solution then from there, I would imagine is, you know, again, I'd have to deduce this, I guess, but you'd have to basically be like, after this, you know, maybe we should just ignore this, right? Would that be correct? Again, I'm not a full-on console programmer here. Add a new cat. Well, there you go. And then we get the cat's name. So I have a cat called Olivka, which means olive in Russian. Cat's breed. I don't know, man. I actually don't know cat breeds. So what Give me a list of cat breeds. I don't know how long this list is going to be, but we can just do that. All right. Let's go with, that's a lot, man. Stop. Damn. This is a lot. I did not know there were so many cat breeds. There are many other breeds. Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine there's a lot, but okay, let's go with Maine Coon. I think I know. This is like the huge one, right? Oh, I have no idea what cat I have though, by the way. It's just a simple cat. But we can, we can be like Maine Coon. We can make this up as well. Cat's age. I think Alivka's like 3. Cat's favorite treat. Oh, I don't know. We don't really give her treats that much. I'm a bad cat owner. I'll just write like tuna or something. Okay, cool. So display all cats. And then here we go. Let's add another cat. This will be a fictional cat. The breed is classified. The age is 80. This is like an alien cat here. And the favorite treat is anything. All right. So now we've got 2 cats. We got Alivka and we got our fictional classified cat. Okay, great. So that's working. Add traits. Again, I assume you would just copy this, like literally copy everything. So we could have trait. We could have our treat collection. While we're at it, we know that we're also going to need customer visits. So I'll just call it customer visits because it's getting long. So we've got add traits, which I'm going to go down here. We'll probably put this in order, but yeah, like, I mean, I'd honestly probably just copy this entire thing, add traits. Then this would be obviously traits instead. Whatever trait has, which is just trait name and quantity, is what I would put in here. So trait name, I'll stick to naming these things properly. And then yeah, quantity is going to be this. We'll get rid of this, but we'll keep that. So this is going to be trait name, enter trait name, and then quantity with the ignore here, which is cool. Good that there's a comment there. Traits in place back, and we'll go with trait name obviously and quantity, and we need to also adjust this cat's age thing, which we'll just do enter trait quantity. That's done. Consume traits. So that if we go back here, that needs to consume traits. That's back here, right? Consume traits. So consume trait, which that's just something we can do. I guess we need to specify what cat we want to consume the trait, right? Oh, and also who's doing it. So this is like, it's falling apart a little bit here because it's like, log a customer visit. But logging a customer visit involves just cat interacted with. Oh, but I guess it doesn't want an advanced system, right? Where it's like, when we do consume trait, we also need to specify which customer gave the cat which trait, and doing so results in a cat interacted with situation. I don't think that's like this. I think this is just you just log all these things. So it's a little bit uninspired and boring in that sense, I think. There definitely could have been a bit more interaction in this assignment. Like I would have definitely done a system where like, you log an interaction, and that means that the customer's kind of giving the cat a treat, and you kind of log that instead of just having to be like, oh yeah, by the way, this customer interacted with this. Because there's no like relation between these things. They're basically just discrete things where you have a cat with a collection, you have a trait and a collection of traits, and then you have a customer visit, and that's just a collection of data. And they don't really ever cross. They don't have any kind of situation, right? Where, well, I guess apart from this though, where the customer is linked with a cat. So then you could produce different things like, hey, what's the most popular cat? And then you could ask it based on how many customers have interacted with that cat. But otherwise, it's kind of boring in that sense. Anyway, I guess we'll just finish the assignment. It's probably going to be boring. I don't know if it's going to make for good content because it's like, I think the majority of it's kind of done, right? But I might as well finish it. So let's do consume traits, which is basically, we just need to specify like that a trait was consumed. So to consume a trait, I guess you would need to take in again, should I get the AI to do this for me? Probably not. But I can say find an element inside a vector by name. Elements are classes which contain a name string. So this is just like if I need to find something, I'm not sure how to do that. If you have a class with a name string member and you want to find it, then okay, interesting. So it's telling me to use find if, which is kind of cool. Whoa, returning a pointer. All right, it's getting a bit different than what I had the way I would have done it. So find cat by name. Okay, it's using my cat thing. Fluffy, that's a great name. Whiskers, Fluffy, and Mittens. Cute. So found cat, and then sure. And then if found cat, cool. So if the pointer's valid, otherwise, well, not valid, but if the pointer's not 0, then that, otherwise that. Yeah, like, I mean, and find if with a lambda. I mean, I wouldn't do it this way, obviously. Like, okay, I'll show. I'm trying to get AI to do this though. Now I'm conflicted. Now I'm not sure what I should do because like obviously I would just iterate through treats, right? I would just take in this, consume treats. So we'd have all of our treats and then treat name to consume basically. And then we could also take in, oh, actually, no, we would prompt the user for this stuff, right? So you'd basically do this exact same thing, enter treat name and quantity to consume. Let's add this so it's a bit more, we have more context. And then we could use the find if here. Should we do that though? Because then iterator doesn't equal end. Like that's a bit annoying. I would imagine that you would just write a for loop. Can you do this using a for loop? So maybe, I don't know what this weird lambda syntax is. I know what for loops are. I've been taught that. Let's see. Absolutely, you can use traditional. Like how that's traditional. For loop to iterate through vector. So let's see the solution it gives us here. Yeah, just going through cats, doing a comparison, and then in this case, const casting. Oh, youch. Okay, that's, I don't know how I feel about this code, but let's copy it. And then this is very interesting. I can kind of see it falling apart here a little bit, but it's cool, like, because I've never gone ahead and done this. So let's kind of search for it here. In terms of treats, it's a treat, not a cat here. We've got the get name, I think, right? I think it's called get treat name though. Was that right? Oh, did I used my big convention here without even realizing it. Big convention, that's funny. Get treat name to find is going to be this treat name. You know, there's no transformation here to a lowercase, which is okay, I guess. This again is not const, so, but I've learned that from before, I hope. So I'm just gonna add const here, because obviously I had to do it for the display cat details. And then like, I'm not trying to return it. I'm just trying to see that if I did find it, then I need to consume it. So I'll just do treat dot, isn't there a consume treat? Yeah, consume treat, which again needs to be const here, or I just don't go through here, which I need to know as well. So I definitely need to go back and forth a bit more, I think. And then what am I doing? Quantity, right? Which surely was given. And then I can just return because I've done it. I've done my job. I've consumed my trait. What was this? So consume trait is just an amount. I've made it not const anymore. But I believe, like, because if this is const, then I might have to remove const from here. This is all just falling apart a little bit, but I guess I kind of have to do that if I do in fact want to modify it, or I could use const cast, which is not advised. Okay, so I've consumed my trait. Otherwise, I could print something like, there is no trait by that name. And then, you know, you could just try again, or like, I guess you could enter the menu option again. So that's that. We obviously need a way to actually add the traits though, right? So do we have a way to do that? There's add traits, consume traits. So let's do trait collection here. You know, add traits, again, same kind of story. I'm just going to copy basically the add cat. Where's the add new cat function. Let's copy that. Let's go to the add traits function. Oh, we already did that. I didn't even realize. What? How did I just zoned out. That's funny. So add treats, we've got log customer visit and display all visits. So we'll do the final piece of the puzzle here. I've got that, you know, cat copying thing here. So we'll just do, we'll obviously take in the customer visit here. I've hopefully learned enough to do this on my own now without using too much, you know, customer visits, without using too much AI here. So customer name, cat interacted with, and date of visit. These are all strings. So we'll do customer name, cat interacted with, and date of visit. Yeah, right. Oh, okay. So the date of visit though, oh, that's going to be a curveball because that needs to be in a particular format. I'll have to use AI for that. So take input from console in format for a date. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I was kind of just typing without thinking about how to phrase it. But day, month, year, oh, okay. But I want to kind of store it as a string. Oh, right, okay. So what's it doing here? Invalidate components, but it's not actually validating the range, is it? Data size doesn't equal 10, and then that has to be dash dash, and then it's actually storing these as numbers though. Okay, interesting. Well, actually, no, that makes sense. So, I mean, we are parsing it into an int, even though we have the data input though, but we're kind of doing that just to make sure that the components themselves are valid. And then I think we can separate them if we want, but we can just keep them as a string. But maybe the purpose of this is just to make sure that they are in fact valid integers and not just letters. So in that sense, I could see that this is actually like, you know, not bad. So maybe we will use this. Well, yeah, we'll use this. Why not? It's just a little silly assignment. I'm not gonna be all weird about it. So with the date then, yeah, let's make a little date section here. And then I feel like Visual Studio is just going crazy here because I've got compiler errors. So date of visit, we'll just plug that in, right? And then we'll do the enter date in the format. So we'll do enter visit date in format that. We'll get that date input. If it's an invalid format, we can say invalid date format, and I guess we can just return. So we won't actually end up adding anything. Otherwise, we'll parse it. Again, sure, invalid date format, I'll do the same error, and then we'll return. But otherwise, if the date is correct, then we know we can store it as a correct thing. So in that case, we can just proceed and go into customer visits. Apologize if I'm going fast, by the way. I'm just trying to get this, like, you know, this is dragging on. And I think you guys get the point, but just for the sake of completion, you know, I want to kind of make sure that I cover everything. Customer name, counter with the data visit. So we actually do add the visit if the data is in the right format. Otherwise, we don't. So that's kind of how I've decided to handle that. Enter customer name, enter cat interacted with. Sure. We'll just do that. And then we'll do, so customer name, cat interacted with, and then we got the enter visit date in format. And that's kind of it. So that's log customer visit, display all visits. Again, same kind of story, right? So we'll copy this, and then we'll do display all visits. This time we'll take in visits. This can be const. I guess maybe they would have learned about that. Customer visit, and then that has, I believe, a display visit details, which we can, then this is like a speed run now. Then we can just kind of pump in here, which again needs to be const, but we've learned that, which is great. Log customer visit, so we can take in customer visits, and I believe we're basically done. So let's hit F5. Let's see what mess I've made. I'm sure I've made some mistakes, right? So yeah, let's just try and use this in its entirety now. So add a new cat. So again, we'll go with Alifka. She's not a Maine Coon, but we'll go with that. Cat's favorite treat, food. Display all cats. We got our cat. Add treats. So this one's called food. We have 5 of that. Let's add another treat. This one's called tuna. We have 2 of that. So let's display the treat. We can't display the treats. Okay, sure. But let's make the cat consume a treat maybe. So let's go with food. Let's try and consume 3 of that. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that worked. We didn't really get any feedback. But if we try and let's do consume treat again, and we'll do food. But let's try and consume 5 of it because we should have lost 3. It'll tell us not enough treats. We have 2. Okay, great. So I guess we can try and consume the tuna. I'll go with 10, which is, yeah, we have 2. We do have two tunas. Then we can, let's try and consume the tuna, but we'll try and do 2 this time. Yeah, that seems to have worked. And if we try, so that remains there though, right? So if we try and consume the tuna again, even just 1, it will tell us we have 0. Okay, cool. Log a customer visit, which is 5. Customer name is Cherno. Customer's cat interacted with Alifka. We don't validate that that's even a real cat. Let me screw up the date here. So let me do AA, just AA. So that's wrong in valid date format. Fair enough. Log a customer visit, Cherno, Alifka. Okay, and now we'll do like, I don't know, what's the date today? 23rd of the 9th of 2023. So that's worked. So display all visits. The date's not here. Why? Why is the date not here? Customer visit, data visit. And I am assigning it here. So what's happened here? Log customer visit, date. Where's my date input? I'm doing data visit because I had that up here. Okay, so that's annoying. So let's do data visit instead. Well, actually, we can keep data input. I'll remove data visit here, and then we'll make sure the date input is the thing coming in. Let's quickly just redo that last part. Again, we're not validating if the cat even is real. That's not really that wasn't asked of us, was it? Just to make sure that if you have a visit, you visit a cat that's real. Or rather, you interact with a real cat. So let's see if it said that. I don't think it did, right? It just seems to assume 1 cat per visit. But yeah, it doesn't really say that. Okay, well, again, this is like, you know, this is just an oversight, which this is filled with. So let's quickly just do that log customer visit again. So Cherno is going to interact with Alifka. And we're gonna do still the same day. And then if I display all visits, this time I wanna get that. Okay, so that's it. And then I can obviously do 7 and it just closes. So that's it. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts were in the comment section below. I mean, I started off, this underperformed compared to what I expected in 2 major areas, I would say. Like, again, overall, obviously, this is a very useful tool, but the reason why I didn't quite like it was because of 2 things. First of all, the compile error. Generating code with a compile error, didn't expect that. Didn't really expect that, but that's what happened. And then the second part is the assignment, like, it looked good at first glance, but then when I kept going through it, like, we realized that there were, in fact, holes in it, right? So that was a bit unfortunate. I don't know, maybe that's fine to expect that, like, because of course it is just, you know, it's not like, maybe I could have asked it to be like even more detailed, but it didn't give me the detailed version immediately. So definitely could have been a little bit better in the assignment generation, but overall, obviously not a bad job. Now, the final thing I want to do before we end this is, now that we've done this, please, I don't know why I'm running please, but please do this assignment for me. Let's see. I can't complete assignments for you. Really? Whoa. Is this a protection thing? But this is isn't this basically it though? Wow. It doesn't want, okay, stop generating, whatever. Can you show me an example implementation of the cat assignment you gave me? Let's see if it, certainly, here's a cat cafe management system. Huh. So again, it doesn't look like a complete program. I mean, it kind of almost is. I don't know why there's 2 of these one things here, but a basic implementation. But let's kind of review this. I don't know. Okay, so there's no getters and setters, even though it said that it had to do that. If quantity greater than equal to amount minus equals quantity, which is fine. That's kind of what we did, right? So display treat details obviously did that. It just did it on, well, I was going to say it did it on 1 line. It did, and it's got new lines here, but they wrote it across 1 line. Then we got the customer visit thing. So customer visit, treat, and cat. So it showed us example implementations of those 3 classes, which is great. We've got a main function with menus. Let's have a look at how it did it. So we got cats, treats, and visits. Yep, okay. It used vectors just like we did. We've got a choice here of those 7 things. It didn't even make a function for this, which is fine. We've got a switch of choice here, and then, oh man, okay, they did not write a function here. Instead, they kind of opened these curly brackets and wrote the whole thing here, which I probably wouldn't have done. We've got cats push back, and it does that instead of in place back. It's almost the same thing, like in terms of the code to type, except yeah. Okay, that's fine though. This goes through and displays cat details, included a little bit of a separator here as well. We've got treat name, treat name, treat quantity, same situation here as well. And then yeah, treat name to consume and amount. It does, yeah, of course, does this kind of for loop here, just like we did, just like we wanted to do, rather than the std find if function with lambda to find the right treat, then consume it. It doesn't tell us anything if it can't find the treat, which is okay. Get treat name it's using, even though I don't think that it didn't create that for us. And so instead it wrote a comment being like assuming that's a member function, but it didn't write it, interestingly. Okay, we got customer name with this. So yeah, does not do any validation on date like we did. So we did that manually. Guess the assignment didn't technically say you must validate date. It just said it has to be in that format though. But I guess if it has to be in that format and you can write anything, then it doesn't have to be in that format. So I think the validation's implied. Customer visits like that. And again, if you do a customer visit, the cat interacted with it not, it's just stored as data. It's not validated at all. And then that's kind of it. Remember, this is basic implementation, many areas for improvement and optimization. Code can be extended to handle error scenarios more gracefully, and other features can be added based on extended challenges. But overall, I guess not a bad implementation. Definitely some, like a lot of similarities, I would say. Ours was more complete in terms of like, you know, how we actually did implement the getters and setters that it asked for. But otherwise, you can see that you can definitely get it to do the assignment for you. It's interesting that when I phrased it like, you know, I can't complete your assignments for you. That's very, very interesting. But then I just rephrased it. Can you show me an example implementation of the cat assignment you gave me? It gives me the complete assignment, basically. Like 90%, 95% done. And then, of course, you could just be like, add some getters and setters for me. So that's interesting, but that's the AI's implementation. This is our implementation. I'm sure no one cares about this, so I don't think I'll post this code anywhere, but it was definitely an interesting journey. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more AI stuff, if you think there's some AI stuff that I should try in terms of like programming or C++ or anything, let me know in the comment section below. I'm having a lot of fun, honestly, just going through and learning about this stuff, because I don't do this outside of videos really to this kind of extent. So it's always a good time, always fun. Don't forget to check out Grammarly with their amazing advanced AI stuff. Link will be in the description below, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.